He was a millionaire, but what she said at midnight changed everything forever. The clock struck midnight, resonating through the empty halls of the sprawling mansion like an ominous echo. Shadows slinked across the rich mahogany walls as curtains billowed with an unexpected breeze, bringing with it the scent of something stale and forgotten. Inside the grand living room, surrounded by luxury and a madness of wealth, stood Marcus Vance, a man who had it all: cars, houses, money. Yet tonight, in the dim light, something far more valuable lingered in the air, an unseen tension that gripped his heart tighter than any deal he ever forged. As he poured himself a glass of aged scotch, the flickering candlelight cast ghostly figures on the walls. But this wasn't just another night of solitary reflection. No, tonight felt different, strange, almost electric. He could hear the scratching of branches against the window, like whispered secrets demanding to be heard. And then it happened. The grandfather clock chimed once more, and from the shadows emerged a woman, cloaked in mystery and adorned in a shimmering red dress that glistened like blood under the fading light. Her eyes, dark and haunting, seemed to hold the universe's secrets. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice a melody laced with danger, "there is something you don't know about your millions." The words hung in the air, thick with foreboding. A wave of unease washed over him, jaw clenching tightly as an unwelcome sensation gnawed at his stomach. For all his wealth, how many people had betrayed him? Would this woman divulge truths that turned his entire existence upside down? He could practically hear the collective gasp from his late-night guests, ghosts of old acquaintances who once laughed in his lavish home, wondering what lay beneath this beautiful femme fatale. He stepped closer, his pulse quickening, heart thundering like a freight train. "What do you mean?" he asked, barely above a whisper, feeling the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. The room seemed to dim further, as if leaning in to hear her speak. "Is it about the money?" The very essence of his being hung on her words. In that moment, it felt like the weight of his world could collapse or erupt depending on what she revealed. "Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." And just like that, she took a step back, the candlelight flickering wildly, casting twisted shadows on her face. "Your fortune isn't what you think it is, Marcus. It's built on lies that could destroy you." He swallowed hard, a lump forming in his throat. The thrill of wealth, the cars, the parties, the envy now felt tainted, like a once sweet taste turned bitter. What hidden truths lingered in the shadows? The room grew colder as every heartbeat pounded louder in his ears. Could it be true? Did he spend his life chasing a mirage? He regarded her eyes, now wide with urgency, filled with danger and fear. The air sizzled with tension, gripping him as he waded deeper into her gaze, each word hanging in the air like a warning bell. "Tell me," he urged, desperate for clarity, each breath clearer, tighter. The entire universe seemed to wait for her response, hanging on a knife's edge as if the fate of the world was held in the balance. Yet just then, the power flickered. The lights blinked ominously, and in that moment of darkness, he heard it, a soft, haunting laugh resonating through the shadows. It was the last thing he expected. In that split second, everything felt off-kilter. What horrors lurked in the corners of his mansion? Anxiety clawed at his insides like a wild beast. And then she vanished, leaving only the echo of her laughter and a question mark that loomed larger than his fortune. Would he find the truth about his wealth, or was this the beginning of an unraveling nightmare? The shadows danced madly around him, their presence growing more sinister by the moment. With the lights flickering back on, Marcus stood alone, his heart racing in the eerie silence that enveloped the mansion. The remnants of her words clung to him like smoke, shrouded in doubt and creeping dread. What could possibly be buried beneath the shimmering surface of his wealth? "Marcus," he whispered to himself, running a hand through his hair, get a grip. But reality felt like a heavy fog, both familiar and foreign. He glanced at the grand piano in the corner, its dark wood telling stories of countless nights filled with laughter and music. Now it seemed to echo just her haunting laugh, a melody turned to mockery. The room felt too big suddenly, filled with walls that loomed closer around him. He swallowed again, noting the bitter taste of scotch still lingering. He poured another drink, but it offered little comfort. Instead, he shifted into motion, compelled by an instinct to uncover the truth. With each step, the shadows threatened to swallow him whole. He made his way to the library. Rows of expensive books lined the walls, titles filled with stories of great fortunes, love affairs, and betrayals. But what if his own story was the best-kept secret of all? What if there were dark chapters he never knew existed, lurking just beyond his reach? He moved along the shelves, fingers trailing along the spines as if they could reveal their hidden truths. But everything felt like a facade, a comforting cover for something far more sinister. As he reached for a copy of The Great Gatsby, the book felt eerily out of place, like it had been deliberately positioned for him to grasp. Gatsby, he murmured aloud, the name resonating in the silence. A wealthy man, coveted yet ultimately doomed by his own desires. It struck a chord within him. Was this the trajectory of his life too? The thought clutched at his chest. Just then, a sharp sound broke the stillness, a crash from the kitchen. The noise sent adrenaline surging through his veins. Heart racing, Marcus sprinted toward the sound, each footfall echoing through the expansive hallways. What now? Fear gnawed at his resolve. Was she returning? Or had something worse come to claim him? With every step, he saw visions of betrayal dance in his mind, old friends turned bitter rivals, lovers consumed by jealousy. He flung open the kitchen door, only to find it empty, all too quiet. But on the kitchen counter, he saw it a single red rose, its petals vivid against the dull backdrop of his surroundings. He stepped forward, confusion and anger bubbling within him. Who had left this, and why? Just as he reached for it, a cold breeze swept through the room, slamming the door shut behind him. It echoed like a gunshot, snapping him to attention. The heat of panic washed over him as he spun, the shadows closing in again, forming figures that seemed to whisper for attention. Find the truth, Marcus, a voice echoed, indistinct yet frighteningly familiar. Before it finds you. His breath quickened. The race was on, not just for answers, but to protect his soul from whatever darkest secret entwined with his fortune. He wouldn't let the shadows win, but what was the truth, really? With renewed determination, he grasped the rose, its thorns digging into his palm, drawing blood. Each drop that spilled felt like the beginning of a path he had to walk, a path littered with danger, deception, and perhaps, redemption. And just before he turned to confront whatever lay in the darkened corners of his mansion, his phone blinked to life, lighting up the potentially game-changing message on the screen. I know what you did, Marcus. Meet me at the old pier at dawn or face the consequences. Time was running out, and with it, the secrets of his life slipped closer to the surface. What would he uncover that night? Would he discover the final brush strokes on the canvas of his life, or would they paint him into a corner he couldn't escape? The weight of the message hung in the air like smoke, acrid and suffocating. Marcus stared at the screen, his heart thudding in his chest. Dawn felt like an eternity away, yet his mind raced with the implications of those words, ambiguous, threatening, that he could feel something crawling inside him, a mix of fear and dark anticipation. Who knew? What did they know? With the rose still clutched tightly in his hand, the thorny wound was a stark reminder, the truth could be painful. The shadows around him seemed to tighten, and he had the overwhelming sense that something was about to snap. Marcus, don't let fear lead you, he muttered, even as he felt the grip of it suffocating him. Gathering himself, he strode out of the kitchen, the chilling quiet now laden with tension. Each footfall echoed, a drumbeat to his anxiety, the other rooms beckoned with their own stories. He glanced toward the drawing room, remembering laughter and warmth shared with friends. But now, the air felt stagnant with regret. He squeezed the rose, feeling a surge of defiant anger rise within him. No more shadows. No more running. The library called him back. Maybe it held answers, secrets buried within the dusty tomes. He hurried back, heart racing with the thrill of discovery mixed with dread. Tall stacks of books, each spine glimmering in the dim light, felt alive and waiting. He skimmed the shelves, desperation clawing at him. The history of fortunes, he repeated in his mind. Where do I even start? He pulled a book at random, an old leather-bound volume with an eagle embossed on the front. Flipping through the pages, dust motes floated in the air, catching slivers of light, but the words felt distant, elusive. Just as he was about to shove it back, a slip of paper tumbled from the pages onto the floor. His breath caught that he bent down, snatching it up. It was a letter, written in an elegant hand that seemed antiquated and out of time. The message was simple, but powerful: you will pay for your greed, Marcus. Secrets cannot stay buried. They haunt us until we confront them. A chill raced through him. Was someone watching? He felt eyes pricking at the back of his neck. Suddenly, it all felt deeper, darker, a warning, perhaps. He leaned against a nearby shelf, his pulse hammering. No, I can't let this be it. I must push forward, he whispered fiercely. But as he stepped back into the center of the room, he could have sworn he heard the floor creak, not from his weight, but from something far heavier and more ominous. It struck him then, a bubble of realization breaking in his mind. His wealth had always rested on shaky ground, built on hidden truths and tight-lipped alliances. Each fortune came with a price. Did those who applauded his success understand the darkness it cast? The room narrowed around him, the air thickening. Footsteps echoed somewhere outside the library, sharp and deliberate. Someone was coming. Panic surged anew. He shoved the letter into his pocket just as he made a run for the door, desperate to escape whatever presence loomed behind him. The moment he threw the door open, he froze. There stood his closest friend, Alex, a shadow against the dim light. But Alex's face twisted with urgency and fear. Marcus. We need to talk now. You have to listen to me. The warning in his friend's voice tightened the knot in Marcus's stomach. Had the truth already caught up with him? And just like that, the fragile threads tying together his life began to unravel. What do you know, Alex? What's at stake here? The urgency dripped from his words, but Alex's expression told him more than he would have liked to hear. Everything, Alex replied, stepping forward. It's worse than you think. The clock is ticking, and you're in deeper trouble than you realize. What were the depths of this trouble? Would Marcus find a way to confront his shadows, or would they consume him whole? The dawn was creeping closer, and the old pier waited silently in the distance, with answers wrapped in danger. Alex, what are you talking about? The panic in Marcus's chest flared like a wildfire. What do you mean by trouble? Alex glanced back over his shoulder, as if the shadows were listening, their silent whispers feeding his anxiety. The urgency in his eyes was like a storm brewing, amplifying Marcus's dread. You need to trust me. They're coming for you, Marcus. They know, and they won't stop until they get what they want. What do you mean they? Marcus took a step back, the weight of Alex's words settling heavily. Who is coming for me? Swallowing hard, Alex rummaged through his own pockets, his hands trembling as he pulled out a crumpled photograph. He thrust it into Marcus's hands. Look. This was taken last night at the gala. Marcus felt his heart drop as he stared at the image of himself, laughing, surrounded by champagne glasses and flashing cameras. But there, lurking in the background, was a figure dark and indistinct, yet unmistakably fixated on him. Who is that? Marcus's voice came out lower than a whisper, a chill creeping along his spine. I don't know. But I've seen that symbol before on a ring, worn by members of a very dangerous circle. Alex's breath came out shaky, almost trying to hold back impending tears. You need to remember the past, Marcus. Those connections you walked away from, they don't forget. An electric silence filled the air, tension crackling like a live wire. The words hit Marcus, and he felt like the ground beneath him had shifted. Memories flashed before his eyes, hushed meetings in shadowy corners, debts he thought long forgiven, relationships broken over whispered betrayals. The sense of security in his wealth suddenly felt like a flimsy facade. Why now? He asked, though the answer seemed to hang in the air like a thick fog. Because you've gained too much attention. Their grip is tightening. No wealth can shield you from the ghosts of what you've done, Alex urged, his voice a hurried whisper. With that, a lock clicked ominously somewhere behind them, followed by the faintest of footsteps approaching, deliberate. Marcus. We need to move. Alex's voice snapped him back to reality. He dashed past Alex, adrenaline flooding his veins, urging him toward the back exit of the library. But just as they reached the door, it swung open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows, the unmistakable outline of danger. Marcus felt his body freeze, the face hidden, but the aura radiated a sense of authority and menace. You really thought you could run? You chose this life, Marcus. Now it's time to pay the price. Before he knew it, Alex had shoved him forward, urging him into the dark hallway. Run, Marcus. Don't look back. They barreled down the corridors, the echo of footsteps blending with the pounding of their hearts. Marcus felt the world shifting behind him, danger pursuing like a predator stalking its prey. Where do we go? He gasped. To the pier. Alex shouted, leading the way. We can't let them trap us here. But as they fled, Marcus's mind raced with frantic questions. Was there truly any escape? Or was the darkness of his past ready to engulf them both? Just then, a scream erupted from the depths of the house, cutting through the night air with a chilling finality. They skidded to a halt, breathless at the sound. They weren't alone. Someone else was in danger. Is that? Marcus hesitated, the dread pooling in his gut. We have to help. Are you crazy? Alex hissed, tugging at Marcus's sleeve. You can't save everyone. You have to think of yourself. But Marcus's resolve hardened. He couldn't abandon anyone to this nightmare, not when the shadows were closing in. What awaited them in the depths of the house? Would they find a way out, or would they fall deeper into the abyss of his past? As they cautiously made their way toward the source of the scream, the stakes rose higher than ever. Time was running out. Marcus's heart raced as he and Alex crept through the dimly lit hallway, shadows pooling in corners like lurking specters. The echo of the scream splintered their haste, a haunting reminder that they weren't just fleeing. They were running toward something darker. Stay close, Alex whispered, his voice barely above the crackle of static electricity in the air. The weight of their choices pressed down on them, each step charged with dread. As they approached the room where the sound had originated, a shuffling noise emerged, faint, but distinct. The door to the study stood ajar, the flickering light from inside barely illuminating the darkened corridor. Uncertainty gnawed at Marcus, but a flicker of empathy urged him forward. Who's in there? He called, his voice catching slightly. There was no answer, just the sound of someone moving, accompanied by a muffled whimper. Marcus, we can't, Alex urged, gripping Marcus's arm tightly. But it was too late. Desperation drove him to push the door open. What they saw sent an icy fist curling in Marcus's gut. A young woman was huddled on the floor, her wrists bound with a scarf. Her fear-stricken eyes widened, unearthing buried memories of his own past troubles. Help me! She cried, her voice trembling like a child lost in the dark. Marcus took a step forward, instinct overriding caution. It's okay, I'm here, he said, even as an inner voice reminded him of the danger lurking behind them, waiting for them to slip up. Get her out of here! Alex shouted, glancing nervously over his shoulder. We have to move. But as Marcus reached for the girl, the air thickened, and a bone-chilling laugh echoed from behind him. You think you can just rescue her and run off? The figure materialized, emerging from the shadows like a nightmare come to life. Marcus, Alex stammered, backing away. We can't fight him. We need to go. I want to leave her. Marcus snapped, every fiber of his being screaming for him to act. The man stepped closer, revealing a cold smile that twisted the features of his face. You still don't know who you're dealing with, do you? The words dripped with contempt, a warning wrapped in menace. She's not just a victim. She's bait. The realization struck Marcus like a punch to the gut. His heart raced faster than his thoughts could organize. What do you mean? Just a reminder of who they really are, the man sneered, the spark of malice dancing in his eyes. And what's at stake? Enough! Alex yelled, shifting into a defensive stance. But Marcus was frozen, fear and rage intertwining in a tempest inside him. If he stepped back now, everything he'd done up to this point, the wealth, the power he'd amassed, the past he thought forgotten, would come crashing down. Let her go! Marcus shouted, the command rumbling from deep within his soul. The man chuckled, a sound smooth as ice. You think your money can buy you freedom? Suddenly, a crash sounded from outside, shaking the house like thunder. A flurry of footsteps raced towards them, and the sensation of impending doom wrapped tightly around Marcus's chest. Quick! We have to move now. Alex shouted, urgency dripping from his words. Wait! Marcus hesitated, torn between saving the girl and escaping the storm that was about to unleash on them. You're out of time, Marcus, the figure warned, an ominous promise in his voice. Choices will be made. Choose wisely. Just then, the wall shook again, louder this time, as a voice boomed from outside. We know you're in there. Come out with your hands up. Marcus's mind raced. If they didn't act, they could lose everything. Now, Marcus. Alex urged, pulling him back. But something shifted in Marcus's heart. What would he sacrifice for one life? Was he ready to face the shadows in order to protect the light? As the door creaked louder in the wind and the figure's laughter faded away, Marcus felt that moment solidify. One choice could alter the fabric of his fate, and suddenly the world narrowed to this single unbearable moment. What would he do? Would he fight against the darkness or fall deeper into it? As the footsteps grew closer, a decision loomed over him like a storm cloud, leaving the door to a future uncertain. Marcus's breath caught as he drew closer to the girl, the urgency of Alex's shouts blurring into a distant hum. He locked eyes with her, desperation pooling there, a silent plea that cut through the chaos. The threat hovering over them felt palpable, like smoke creeping into their lungs. Help me, she whimpered again, her voice laced with panic, anchoring Marcus in that moment. Every instinct told him to flee, to escape this cursed situation. But a flicker of something more powerful, a sense of responsibility, a chance to reclaim the lost pieces of his humanity, rose within him. The shadowy figure before them grinned, reveling in the turmoil he caused. Do you really think you can save her? Out there, they're waiting. You're too late, he taunted, tilting his head toward the door. The outside was not just an escape, it promised danger and chaos. Marcus. Alex insisted, fear now lacing his voice. We have to go. Now. But Marcus felt an unyielding determination grip him. No. I can't leave her here. She deserves a chance. Your money, your life, it means nothing here. The man sneered. You can't buy your way out of this one. Just then, the door splintered, something heavy slamming against it from outside. The air thickened with tension. Each sound was like a drum roll, a countdown to what would happen next. Marcus. Alex cried again, panic coursing through him as he glanced back toward the door. The girl was shaking, tears glistening in her wide eyes. Please, she whispered, drawing Marcus's focus again. He finally made a decision, bravely reaching down to grab her arm and pull her close. I'll get you out of here, he promised, his voice firm. Before he could put his plan into action, the man's laughter echoed once more, cutting through the moment like a shard of glass. Fools! No escape, no salvation. You're all part of the game. With that, he lunged forward, hands reaching out. Marcus instinctively reached for the girl, just as the figure barreled toward them. Everything shifted into slow motion. The force of the attack threw Marcus back against the door, pain jolting through him as he struggled to stay upright. "Run!" he shouted, heart pounding as he fought to regain his balance. Alex rushed past him, fierce determination igniting in his eyes. "Get her out. I'll hold him off." They were racing against time, a mental and physical endurance test, leaving one fragrance in the air: fear. Every step felt heavier, dread anchoring him as he tugged the girl up, her fragile form shivering against his side. "Come on, we have to go," Marcus urged, leading her towards the back door, the shuddering house echoing their distress. Outside, shouts pierced the night. They were trapped in a snare tightening with every heartbeat. "Marcus!" Alex's voice rang out, but they couldn't stop now. The escape route was narrow, lined with uncertainty and darkness, but in that darkness lay a glimmer of hope. Suddenly, the door behind them burst open, revealing a swarm of men dressed in tactical gear, faces hidden behind masks. Hands in the air. One of them barked, a weapon aimed straight at Marcus. Instinct kicked in. "Run!" he shouted again, pulling the girl towards the tight alleyway behind the house, as the blare of footsteps exploded into chaos. "Marcus, wait!" Alex's voice was drowned out by the roar of the confrontation. But there was no time for hesitation as they darted into the narrow passageway, shadows swallowing them whole. The sound of yelling faded momentarily behind them as they made their way into the unknown. For the first time, Marcus glanced at the girl. "What do they want? Why were you?" Her eyes flickered with something: fear. Recognition. "It's not just about me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You have to understand." Before she could finish, an explosion erupted from the house, flames licking the sky as debris rained around them. The shockwave threw them off their feet, but Marcus managed to keep hold of her. "Get up!" he yelled, scrambling to his feet, adrenaline surging. They took off, scrambling through the back streets, leaving the chaos behind. As they ran, one single thought twisted in Marcus's mind: what had he just unleashed? But still, her words lingered in the air, unspoken but heavy. "You have to understand, moments like that shape destinies." But as the shadows loomed closer, had he just sealed his own fate? Marcus propelled himself forward, dragging the girl along with him. The night air bit at their skin, but it was the scalding heat from the explosion behind them that fueled their desperation. Each hurried step echoed with the weight of their new reality. The world was no longer a place of comfort, but one shadowed by danger and uncertainty. "Where do we go?" Panic laced the girl's voice, her hands trembling in his grip. "Anywhere but here," Marcus replied, urgency sharpening every syllable. He scanned their surroundings, barely processing the sight of unfamiliar streets blurred by adrenaline. There was no plan, only the instinct to survive. Suddenly, a piercing siren sliced through the night, a warning that sent tremors of panic through Marcus. He turned a corner, pulling the girl into a narrow side street. "Who are they?" she gasped, glancing back, her fear palpable. "Does it matter?" Marcus shot back, frustration leaking into his calm facade. "We just need to keep moving." Her eyes darted back the way they had come, worry creeping up her spine. "No, you don't understand. They're not just here for me. I am connected to something much bigger." "What do you mean?" he nearly yelled, exasperation making him harsh. "Now is not the time for secrets." "They want me for a reason," she insisted, voice rising. "I know things that could expose them. They want to silence me." "Expose who?" Marcus gritted his teeth, the urgency gnawing at his insides. They stumbled into a wider street now, the dim flickers of streetlights revealing trash strewn about like remnants of a forgotten world. "The syndicate," she breathed, her face pale. "They are involved in things that go deeper than you can imagine. Drug trade, corruption, they control everything. If they find out I'm alive, it's over for both of us." Why should I trust you? He snapped, the weight of moral choices pressing heavily on his shoulders. Because I'm the only chance you have. She said emphatically, her eyes fierce, a fire igniting behind her fear. I can help you understand this world. But we have to move. They darted past shuttered shops and empty alleys, shadows deepening around them. Marcus's heart pounded, the threat of danger lurking ever closer, urging him to make a choice. Look, he breathed, trying to steady his racing heart. If this is true, if you're really in danger, then we need to figure out our next step. Suddenly, the night exploded with noise, a mob of voices, footfalls marching in unison. They were coming, and fast. Hide! Marcus urged, pulling her into a nearby doorway just as a group of masked figures emerged around the corner, weapons drawn. They were the same people from the house, and they moved with a chilling precision that sent shivers racing along Marcus's spine that he pressed close against the doorframe, heart hammering in his chest. The girl was shaking, fear evident on her face. I'm not ready to die, she whispered, clenching her hands into fists. The figures marched by, their silhouettes towering in the dim light, every step a reminder of the grim reality they faced. Find them. One of the figures shouted. They can't have gone far. As the sound faded into the distance, Marcus felt a glimmer of hope trickle in, mixed with dread. This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was a battle against an unseen enemy pulling strings he had no idea about. Now what? The girl asked, her voice trembling again as they both emerged cautiously from their hiding place. Marcus hesitated, the magnitude of his choices weighing heavily. We need to find someone who can help us. The question is, who? Just as he spoke, a distant scream echoed down the alley, jagged and raw. A realization washed over him, there were no heroes here, only players in a dangerous game. In that moment of uncertainty, he grasped her hand tighter, determination seeping in. We need to keep moving. If we don't make it to dawn. But before he could finish, something shattered the tense silence. A flash, followed by a heavy thud. His heart dropped. The night was beginning to unravel in ways he never thought possible. The darkness was deeper than he'd imagined, the stakes higher than he could comprehend. Marcus, what was that? She whispered, eyes wide with fear. I don't know. But we have to find out, and fast. With night closing in, time was running thin. Would they uncover the truth, or were they already too late? Marcus's gut twisted as another echo reverberated through the shadows, mingling with the distant sounds of sirens and heavy footsteps. He surveyed the alley, trying to piece together the jigsaw puzzle that had shattered his normal life just hours ago. Focusing on the girl, he could see the fear etched in her features, a stark reminder that they were both in over their heads. Listen, he said, gripping her shoulders to meet her gaze. We need a plan. Who can help us? There's a safe house, a contact who knows me, she stammered, voice shaking. But it's risky. We have to trust each other. How do I know you're not leading me into a trap? He pressed, instinct telling him to remain cautious. I'm a liability too. If they find us, it's over for both of us, she shot back, desperation giving her words edge. Marcus felt the weight of the decision pressing on him. He looked both ways down the street, shadows dancing beneath the flickering lights, anxiety tightening like a vice. Okay, he relented. Lead the way. With her hands still clasped in his, they darted from one dark corner to another, every step measured. The buildings loomed tall and ominous, making the world feel smaller with every heartbeat. She took quick, nervous glances behind her, as if expecting a masked figure to jump out of the darkness at any moment. Just around this block, she said breathlessly, pointlessly trying to reassure herself. As they turned the corner, the street opened up to a small square barren, save for an abandoned bus stop. The girl stumbled to a halt, staring at the crumbling structure. This is it, she whispered. It should be safe. Should be. Marcus echoed. We don't have time for should-bes. I know, she snapped, but then her voice softened. I promise, just give me a moment. He watched her carefully, noting the flicker of resolve mixed with fear. As she rummaged through her pockets, the tension in the air thickened, as if anticipating the storm that was about to break. Suddenly, the familiar sound of distant voices started to rise again, echoing off the walls. "Keep it down," he hissed, eyes darting toward the sound. She clamped her mouth shut, focusing, as she finally pulled out a small, flip phone. "This isn't the first time I've needed it." Her trembling fingers pressed buttons quickly. "I have to reach Ari. He can help us." Marcus peered into the distance, the shadows lengthening ominously. "We don't have the luxury of time." "Almost there," she said, but before another moment passed, the phone slipped from her fingers and clattered against the pavement, cracking open. "No!" she gasped, rushing to scoop it up. "Please work." Anger bubbled inside Marcus. As he bent to help her, a horrifying thought crossed his mind. What if the syndicate was closer than they realized, tracking them at that very moment? Just as she tried to turn the phone on, a harsh light cut through the darkness, flashlights sweeping over the square, aggressive voices approaching fast. "This way!" shouted a figure, a silhouette leading the pack. A knot twisted tightly in Marcus's stomach. "Run!" he shouted, yanking her arm as they bolted in the opposite direction. As they ran, the footsteps blared closer, pounding in perfect sync with the raging rhythm of Marcus's heart. "What now?" he shouted over his shoulder, adrenaline heightening his senses. "Down that alley." She pointed frantically, her breath coming in gasps. "It's a shortcut." They darted into the narrow space, the walls closing around them like a vice. But Marcus could feel it. The sensation of being hunted was alive and palpable, weighing heavily on their backs. Every sound, every flicker of movement was raw with danger. Marcus's mind raced. They needed a diversion. A weapon, anything to give them a fighting chance. Just then, he spotted a glimmer of metal half buried in the ground, a discarded pipe. "Cover me!" he shouted, diving to grab it just as the light from the flashlights illuminated the entrance of the alley. The moment hung in the air, thick with tension. Was this it? Would this be their last stand? Marcus gripped the pipe tightly, heart pounding as he turned to face the darkness behind them, but just when all hope seemed lost, the girl gasped. "Marcus! I remember something that could save us." As the footsteps echoed closer, his mind raced. What had she discovered just moments too late? "Then tell me," he yelled, panic spilling over. The truth loomed just ahead, threatening to throw both of them into a deeper abyss. Could this revelation be their salvation or their final mistake? In that fevered moment, everything seemed ready to unravel. The darkness secluded their unsaid fears, the night pulling tighter around them. What could she possibly reveal that would change everything? The girl's eyes widened, a spark igniting in the depths of her fear. "I remember Ari mentioned a place." Her voice trembled, laced with urgency. "A warehouse on the south side of the docks. It's where they hold their meetings, where they trade secrets. If we can get there, we can expose everything." Marcus' heart raced. And how do we get there without being caught? He couldn't let hope cloud his judgment. This could be a dead end or worse, a trap. I don't know. I just remember him saying it was hidden, maybe something about an old shipping container. But we need to hurry. She peered down the alley, her eyes reflecting the sharp beam of the approaching lights, growing louder and closer. The footsteps thudded ominously against the pavement, echoing against the brick walls of the alleyway. Marcus clenched the pipe tighter, his knuckles white, his instincts on high alert. They had seconds to act. "Listen," he replied, forcing himself to remain calm despite the chaos churning inside. "We'll head to the docks, but we can't move like this. We need to blend in, make them think we're nobody. Do you have a plan?" she asked, a hint of desperation in her voice. That he glanced around, taking in their surroundings. An old dumpster sat rusting at the back of the alley, its shadow molded perfectly for concealment. "We hide. Just for a moment." As they ducked behind the dumpster, its metallic scent mingling with the adrenaline coursing through him. Marcus felt every pulse of his heartbeat. The voices were now mere feet away. "I swear I saw them run this way," one voice yelled. Anxiety slithered down Marcus's spine. They were close to being found. "Keep it down," another voice snapped. "They can't have gone too far." The girl gripped Marcus' arm tightly, her breath coming in shallow bursts, her body trembling against his. He held her gaze, hoping to reassure her, but he felt his own pulse racing at the thought of being caught. Seconds dragged by. The voices retreated slightly, the flashlights moving further down the alley before going dark. Breaching the fragile silence, Marcus dared to breathe again. "We need to move now," he whispered, urgency resounding in his tone. They slipped out from the dumpster, glancing both ways as they took off. In the clamor of their escape, they sprinted into the street, ducking under the glow of streetlights as they headed toward the docks. The thrill of adrenaline propelled them forward, but with every step, uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud. As they crossed an old metal bridge, thrumming with the sound of water below, she turned to him, wide-eyed. "What if they get there first? What if Ari is in danger?" Her fear rekindled. Marcus felt a gnawing guilt tightening around him. They were racing toward a battlefield he barely understood. "We'll get there first. We have to." But as they navigated through the looming shadows of the warehouse district, something in the back of his mind nagged at him, the notion that they weren't just racing against time, but against an unseen force that seemed to know their every move. Silhouettes loomed up ahead, shadows shifting with intent. Marcus's breath hitched as they approached an entrance marked by crumbling graffiti. The warehouse was sprawling and empty, a shell of steel and concrete, and the air grew heavier with secrets. "Here," she said, her voice hushed. "This is it. We need to find the right container." They slipped inside, heartbeats echoing louder than their whispers. The dim light revealed rows of containers, each stacked high like tombstones keeping their secrets. But as they moved deeper into the darkness, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were no longer alone. Then, from the shadows, a voice sliced through the tension, piercing the veil of secrecy. "I was wondering when you two would show up." Startled, they turned to face the source, and Marcus felt the chill in his bones. Was this an ally, or an enemy waiting to strike? The darkness threatened to close in around them, and Marcus knew the moment of truth was upon them. Would they confront the sinister secrets lurking in the abyss, or would they become just another casualty in a game of shadows? The dim light of the warehouse flickered as Marcus's eyes locked onto the figure emerging from the shadows. It was Ari, his old ally, but one whose allegiance was questionable after everything that had happened. The smile that creased Ari's lips sent a ripple of unease through Marcus. "I see you found our little witness." Ari gestured at the girl beside him, her face pale, eyes wide, caught between fear and hope. "What do you want, Ari?" Marcus's voice reverberated with urgency. "Where are the others?" "They're coming." Ari's expression momentarily dropped, perhaps recalling the shady dealings from their past, the debts unpaid, the trust broken. "I'm here to help or to clean up, depending on how you see it," he replied, smoothing the fabric of his leather jacket, the cold indifference in his eyes making Marcus's stomach churn. "I don't have time for games. They're hunting us." The girl gasped, her voice cutting through the tension, anxiety building like a storm around them. "Relax," Ari said dismissively, raising a hand. "I can get you both out. But first, we need to understand just how much trouble we're in." At that moment, the air felt electric. The girl looked at Marcus, fear etched into her features, but he felt a spark of resolve. "Ari, enough with the theatrics. We don't have much time." Ari leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You don't get it, Marcus. The syndicate is more powerful than you know. This isn't just about arming yourself for a fight. If they're here, it's already too late for half the players. They know we're in play." Marcus clenched his jaw, reality settling in heavy like an anchor in his gut. "You said you can help," he pressed. "Get us to safety. Show us where the meeting is taking place." Ari hesitated, scanning the shadows, his expression shifting as if weighing the risk of losing control in an already delicate situation. "All right," he declared finally. "We go back to the docks, but we need to be smart about this." Before they could begin to plot their escape, an echoing sound broke through the walls, feet pounding steadily against the concrete. The syndicate was here, and they were moving fast. Marcus's heart raced as he looked back at the girl, their fates intertwined in a cruel twist of destiny. "We need to find that container. It's our only shot." He took her hand tightly, adrenaline surging through him. As they moved deeper into the maze of containers, Ari led the way, glancing back occasionally, his face shadowed with uncertainty. "Stay close," he commanded. "If we get separated we won't." Marcus interrupted, pushing his instincts to the forefront. "Let us just find it." They turned a corner, and there it was, a battered shipping container, distinctly marked with fading symbols. It looked like it had weathered countless storms, yet held its ground. "This one," the girl said, her eyes sparkling with determination. As they approached, a chorus of shouts erupted from the entrance. They found their trail. Marcus felt panic drumming against his chest. "Hurry," he urged, scanning for an opening to slip inside the container. With one mighty shove, they slipped inside, the darkness enveloping them like a shield. The air inside was stale, but it contained remnants, files, documents, the smell of something significant buried deep within. Each heartbeat thrummed in sync as they tried to catch their breath. "Are you sure you saw what you think you saw?" Ari whispered to the girl, betrayal lapping at the edges of his voice. "I'm certain. I can't let them silence me," she replied defiantly, clutching the edge of a crate tightly as they listened to footsteps approaching. "Then we need to expose them. Fast," Marcus decided, feeling the weight of their lives pressing in all directions. But even as they plotted, the tall form of a figure emerged from the shadows, shadowy and menacing, just outside the container. The tension was unbearable as their breaths clogged. "We know you're in there," the deep voice commanded, confident, malevolent, cutting through the silence like a knife. "Come out, and perhaps we'll be generous." Marcus exchanged quick glances with the girl. "If we go now, we can take them by surprise," he whispered. Ari shook his head. "That'll only expose us further. We need a distraction." The footsteps grew louder, echoing ominously against the metal. Without thinking, Marcus made a snap decision. "I have to create a diversion. Just trust me." "A diversion? Are you nuts?" Ari spat back, his face tight with disbelief, but Marcus was already moving, stepping toward the back of the container. "I can make it work," he pressed, determination hardening. "Marcus, don't be reckless," the girl urged, grasping his arm, but they had no choice now. Familiar abilities ignited within him, blending a mix of authority and chaos. "Just give me a moment. Follow my lead," he whispered, then slipped quietly out toward a nearby stack of crates, suppressing the pounding of his heart. With nerves taut as strings, he grabbed a small piece of scrap metal and hurled it across the expanse. The sound of clattering echoed, reigniting panic in his chest, but it held potential. As it hit the ground, the footsteps paused, and voices began to swirl, hesitating. Now was his chance. "Go!" he shouted back toward Ari and the girl, sending them scrambling as he drew the focus away toward the noise. They bolted, moving quickly back into the container, adrenaline crackling as they moved together in tight formation. The moment passed and Marcus tensed as the voices started escalating again, angry and twisted. "After them!" a voice boomed, rage radiating through the air like a fire. Marcus felt the unease creep back in. They were being hunted, every move watched with predatory eyes. "It's time," he insisted, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. "We show them we're not afraid." They forged onward in a calculated rush, adrenaline driving them towards the last chance for survival, every shadow keeping secrets alive. As the door of the container swung open, both danger and opportunity loomed ahead, and Marcus took a deep breath, looking back at the girl. "Are you ready?" With a fierce nod, They burst into the open, hearts racing against time as they charged toward darkness and uncovered truths waiting to shatter their lives once and for all. What awaited them could either be hell or salvation. As the dawn crept closer, so did destiny, the shadows of their past intertwining with the truth of their futures. And then, against the rising sun, they made a vow not to succumb but to challenge the demons, unravel the hidden treachery, and reclaim their lives. The choice lay not just in survival, but in rising above the storm that the shadows had cast over them, and they fight to awaken a new beginning. As the first rays broke through the veil of darkness, echoing moments of pain and decisions born from the depths of their souls, they charged forward, but as the sirens receded into the distance, new questions formed. Would they prevail against the looming shadows of the syndicate? Would the truth set them free, or ensnare them deeper into the sinister web of lies? Time for answers was running short. Make sure to subscribe immediately so you don't miss out on exclusive stories like this. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this epic finale. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with every click.